Hi guys, welcome back to Antimatter Dimensions. So in the last episode, we got up to our first dimension shift, so now I'm going to continue. But this time, the first dimensions are twice as effective because of this, just to make it a bit faster. And so, each one is giving me 2 antimatter per second. So this game isn't going to be as slow anymore. Now I'm getting 40 antimatter per second. And I can buy these things, second dimensions. And as they produce more first dimensions, I'm going to be able to get them a bit faster. Then they'll produce first dimensions at a fast rate. Like that. 26, 27, 28. So I'm going to get this tick speed upgrade. You can already see it going faster than before. And I wanted to let you know something about achievements. So each row is basically, like, this is the start. Each row is basically like, it's just like more progress. Like, they're kind of in chronological order. Another tick speed upgrade. And, so I, also just wanted to say that some of you might already know what silly thing I was talking about, that Heavy Pell does, that he put in the news. I'm just letting you know that a lot of you who play this game might already know what I'm talking about. Or was talking about. So we're already back to, like, the 10,000s. And in the last episode, we made 12 trillion antimatter. There's this joke about the 5 hours. I don't really get it. So it doesn't explicitly say that it gives the first dimension a boost. So a lot of people who are just starting out might not see why the second dimension shift is faster, but I'm explaining that. I think this is the first Antimatter Dimensions series on YouTube. Like, Lazy Llama made one, but that's incomplete. He just got to, like, break infinity and stopped. So I'm gonna get further than that. And I'm aware that I always cycle between interests. And so what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna force myself to keep playing this. Even if I lose a lot of interest, I will just force myself and I will not try anything new just so that it doesn't override this. And I hope that I don't end up with like a fourth big numbers video series that I tried to do and didn't finish. And that's kind of bad when that happens. Okay, just a little bit of a grind to get to 1 million antimatter. Let's look at statistics. You've done 1 dimension boost shifts. Okay, so basically a dimension boost is, what you do after unlocking the 8th dimension. It just costs more 8th dimensions and it still gives the dimensions a boost. So the first dimension shift boosts the first dimension, then the next one boosts the first 2, then it boosts the first 3, and then when you have 8 of them, it will just boost all 8 dimensions. And the price of this will go up. Until eventually you'll have 88 dimensions and get the next mechanic. But there is a mechanic in between. It's called Dimensional Sacrifice. I can show you when we get there. But it'll just appear like up here where the max all button is. it will like the max all button will just move to the right. Then the new button will be there. I'm not gonna say what the new button does, but we will unlock it before we unlock this. Just so you know. At this stage, it's pretty much, we pretty much need to buy every single reset or of any type. It's pretty much impossible to, just not do that. Like to skip the last reset and then push to this. That's not possible to do. Well, it might be possible, but it's, you definitely want to be buying every single one of these for now. Later in the game that will change, but then it will change back. I'll explain. You'll kind of just sort of see it'll sort of just end up that way. You'll understand when we get there. Okay, we're getting to 10 million antimatter, and this is clearly a lot faster. I know what all these achievements are. I don't think there's any that we can really get, but there's... Oh, look, we got this. We were just trying to get that last time. This is for being offline for over 6 hours in a row. There's only 2 achievements in this row that require anything special. Reach infinite antimatter. Have exactly 99 eighth dimensions. We just can't buy 10 at a time. Go over 1E80 antimatter. So I'll finally explain this notation. So basically, you have the first number and then the second number of zeros. And if the first number is decimal, you just put the decimal places in the next few place values. So for example, 1.5 E6 is the same as 1.5 million. You probably know what that means. By 10 dimension boosts, natural. By antimatter galaxy, natural. By 2 antimatter galaxies, natural. By a single first dimension, you have over 150 of them. We just have to buy them. We just have to buy singles. I'm not going to show you this next row, but we will get it at some point. Okay, I'm just going to buy this tick speed upgrade, and I'll buy 10 first dimensions at a time, because why not? I've never bought 10 at a time like that in this series. So like I said, in the main game, which is probably what you're playing, you won't have this last row. That's just a new game update thing. But of course, I will continue this Let's Play in the main game. I'm just playing on new game updates so that when I get really far, I can play a lot of different versions that change the end of the game without having to grind through the early game a bunch of times. The options tab will look a bit different in the main game, which is, and if you're just learning, that's probably what you want to be playing. But you can probably figure everything out. There's also 2 tabs here. That's not the case in the main game. And as you can see here, we've finally bought 5th dimensions. So we got this achievement for buying a single 5th dimension. That was surprisingly fast. What was I gonna say? Achievements. Oh yeah. So if you're just a player watching this because you want to start out, definitely just play the main game. But if you're a more advanced player who likes different modifications, that's why I'm playing this. But hopefully I've done a good job explaining to you the different things. So now I've got 10 fifth dimensions, and they're generating 200 of these fourth dimensions, which we could have never got last time. These fourth dimensions are just growing and growing and growing. And in the last episode, we actually had to painfully work just to buy 20. And now we have 300. And they've produced 6,000 of these third dimensions. We might have just been able to wait for that last episode, but this episode we are getting it kind of easily. So we're up to 10 billion again. And in the last episode we got to trillions, but pretty soon we're going to pass that. So it is taking a while for us to get to 10 billion. Our antimatter per second is steadily increasing. And in my main game, I sort of stuck around the same point, but I completed Eternity Challenge 5 and now Time Study 62 is helping a lot. I'm not going to say what that means, but for more advanced players, I'm letting you know that's where I'm at. If you have any tips for me, because it is quite slow at the moment, just let me know. And that purple button I've clicked, just so you know, I've clicked it over 110,000 times now. Finally, we're accelerating a lot. Like before we were getting like 800 million per second. And now just by buying these dimensions, we are basically going 10 times faster. And when we get this tick speed upgrade, we'll be ready to start pushing to trillions like we did at the end of last episode. Except this time we're going to go even further. Dank memes. We're almost at where we ended the last dimension shift. Oh, by the way, it's useful to just buy these as soon as you can afford them, because there's no point pushing any further. You will get to a point where these both cost 88 dimensions, and you'll want to just get that one because getting another one of these won't do anything. It'll just waste time because this resets you to the beginning of everything. And one thing I like about these games is the prestige layers. So basically, here you reset the game. That's the first prestige layer. But then you reset everything you've got up to that point, including that reset, and that's the second prestige layer. Then you might even reset everything up to that, the third prestige layer, and so on. In Antimatter Dimensions, there's 4, but in one of the modifications, New Game Plus Plus Plus, there's 6. And in another one called New Game Minus Minus, they add one in between. So that's 5, and then if you combine that with plus plus plus, it's 7. But I don't think I'm gonna do that. Because minus minus and plus 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 both take a long time, so combining them both will just be ridiculous. So basically, if you're someone who's just trying to learn and you're not understanding what I'm saying, don't worry. Just you might understand it one day, but if you're someone who's really into this game and you're just watching this for fun, then definitely just don't worry. Just you'll probably understand what I'm talking about. The Antimatter keys is back into you. What? Some of these news messages are weird. I want to see if we get the really funny one. Well, it's not just funny, but it's very deep and long. It's just one sentence that's funny. So Heavy Pell is the guy that made the game. He does his weird habit once a week. A lot of you who are more into this game might know what it is. The rest of you just try to figure it out. Might have even come up last episode when I wasn't paying attention. Oh, and look, we are making over a trillion antimatter per second. We're now officially further than we were last time. So not only do these first dimensions gain a boost, but we also unlock the fifth dimension. And these two things cause the game to be a bit faster. Now we have to get to 100 trillion. Okay, we're definitely further than we were. In the last episode, as you saw, we made a total of 12 trillion. And now we're getting that basically every 2 seconds. Just so you know, if it costs a certain amount to buy singles, I just like to buy the tick speed upgrade. Because just as the achievement says, there's no point in doing that. It's true. You only get a boost for buying 10 of a dimension. So buying singles when you have a lot of them like this is useless, but the tick speed upgrade still makes the game 11% faster. So I like to do that first. Of course, if it's 10 of a dimension versus a tick speed upgrade, doesn't really matter what you go for first. It never really matters what you go for first. You'll just, if you buy everything, you'll eventually make it. So basically, at the beginning of the game, what you want to do is just buy dimensions and resets whenever you can afford them, and then sooner or later, this bar will get to 100%. And who knows what will happen. The whole game will change, that's for sure. News ticker is declared dead, provides no purpose. Is that because I got this achievement, so this is totally doesn't change anything in the game? Oh, and another thing about these achievements is that some of them have rewards. Like reach infinite antimatter reward, start with 100 antimatter. And we also have this. So every time we complete a row of achievements, the normal dimensions gain a 1.5 times multiplier. So you'll eventually see that the multiplier of these is like 1.5, and then it goes to 3, and then it goes to 6, and you might be wondering why. It's because whenever you complete a row of achievements, the dimensions gain a multiplier, which means that even if one of the achievements doesn't have a reward, for example, this one, is still useful because of this. We haven't got a multiplier yet, but soon we're going to finish this row of achievements, and eventually I'll start working on getting some of the ones in this row. Like, for example, this is probably the next one I'm going to get. get over 1E80 antimatter. Because I know for a fact that the rest of those will happen a bit later. I also know for a fact that this is going to be the last one we're going to get, unless we forget to get one of these. And we're already at quadrillion antimatter. And we have this long grind to get to 10 quadrillion, so I think I'm just gonna see you when we get there. Okay, I'm back after about a minute, and I've got 10 quadrillion antimatter, so I'm gonna buy that. And I also wanted to say that this news ticker, not news sticker, it's news ticker, has some. Don't click this news. I'll just do it. I told you so. That's weird. I don't know why it. But basically, some of these news things, one happened, while I was waiting to get to 10 quadrillion. They have jokes about the 0th dimension. But what's funny is that if you understand how the game works, you'll know that the 0th dimension is actually antimatter. So it's like, why does no one talk about the 0th dimension? When will it come out? Even though the 0th dimension is like the fundamental currency of the game. So basically this means one with 80 zeros. So once I get to E33, it will switch to the scientific notation instead of the Illian's notation. First dimension. This is kind of slow, but as you can see, we're almost ready to get the next set of 5th dimensions. And I will do more cuts in the future. It's just that at the moment it's a brand new game and it's more exciting, so it's better if I just sort of do the whole clip at once. The next game I'm going to start is probably Cookie Clicker. And I'm going to do it after I unlock time dilation in my main game. Or maybe after I finish the game. I'm not really sure. But around then, because I won't really have another game to focus on, I'll be able to dedicate all my time to this game. Like at the moment I have to do a video and then work on my current game. But once I finish that, I will just focus on these YouTube videos. Now the thing about Cookie Clicker is that the best way to make progress is to do long sessions. So I might just do like 1 or 2 hours a day and put the highlights into a video. For this game, I'll just sort of well, this game is a bit different. Depends on the stage of the game. And now we're at the last stretch. We're ready to get 100 quadrillion. But it depends on the stage of the game what I'll do. Like, sometimes I'll just do these long videos where I record almost everything. There is one mechanic called Replicantes where I'll pretty much just have to stop for an hour, do a clip, stop for another hour, then do a clip, and you'll see why. I can get this tick speed upgrade, and I'm almost ready to get these last few 5th dimensions. And it's gonna take a little while, so I'll just do another cut. Okay guys, we're almost there, so I'm just gonna put the video back on normal speed, and now we're gonna finally get the 2nd dimension shift. And in the next episode, we'll buy 6 dimensions. So it's sort of just gonna be like before. And unfortunately, this process might get a bit boring, but by episode 5, it should be better. For now, I'm just gonna end this episode, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!